Welcome back. You're with us here on The Final Word. ICICI Bank, Bank of Baroda, City Financial and LIC will form an infrastructure debt fund, which will be the first ever such fund and will be based on an NBFC model. The total size expected to be $2 billion.
This is the first ever infrastructure debt fund being formed in the form of an NBFC. The total debt fund size would be about $2 billion. And the equity is going to be contributed by ICICI Group 31%, then Bank of Baroda 30%, City Group 29% and LIC 10%. So I think not only is this the first infrastructure debt fund as an NBFC, but I think it's also bringing in together partners with a lot of infrastructure experience and ability to access funds both domestically and globally.
That's Chanda Kochhar of ICICI Bank speaking about this new fund. Also, the Finance Minister, Pranab Mukherjee, has spoken about it. He said the setting up of the Infrastructure Debt Fund, the IDF, through public-private partnership, would meet the long-term needs of infrastructure sector funding.
I am quite confident that this establishment of Infrastructure Debt Fund and the way all the regulatory organizations, various ministries, departments, and also the guidance and advice of Planning Commission worked in close cooperation along with the private sector participants demonstrate that if we have strong desire and will, we can do it.
To help us further understand the Infrastructure Debt Fund is my colleague Ragini Verma. She joins us from Delhi. Ragini, if you can take us through what this fund is going to entail.
The country's first infra debt fund was finally formally launched today in the capital in the presence of the finance minister with 4 financial institutions that are partnering to bring it afloat. Lead among them is ICICI Bank, the country's largest private sector bank, followed by Bank of Baroda, Citibank, as well as LIC. Now, we understand that from our conversation with the MD and CEO of ICICI Bank, Mr. Chanda Kochhar, she said that they aim to bring about a corpus of $2 billion via this infra debt fund. For starters, of course, they are going to bring in an equity of around 300 crore rupees, of which 31% will be brought in by ICICI Bank, 30% by Bank of Baroda, 29% by Citibank, and 10% by LIC. And of course, going on, this will of course be Tier 1 capital, but they would look to raise Tier 2 capital in the coming days. After which, of course, they would look to form a formal management that will be heading this NBFC fund that has been created, and of course following that they aim to attract both domestic as well as overseas investors to bring around a corpus of $2 billion. This is important because it is a good development specifically for the infrastructure space that has been falling short of long-term funds, and the need, of course, for that sector is pretty gaping. And something, of course, around the infrastructure funds was also announced by the finance minister in the last budget. So it's good news that the first infra fund has finally been announced. So right now, of course, only an MOU has been signed today, but of course, in the coming days, we would see a management form and the mobilization of such funds, which could take anywhere between 3 to 6 months from now.